where today we are breaking down one of the strangest, grittiest, and most shocking college basketball upsets of the entire season.
Okay, so let's just jump right into the central mystery here, because this is the bizarre, compelling story of how the Iowa Hawkeyes managed to take down a top 10 team. I mean, it's a question that sounds completely impossible, right? But the answer, well, it tells you everything you need to know about what it really takes to win.
So here's the setup. On one side, you've got the Iowa Hawkeyes. They're unranked, and they're stumbling, coming off a 2-game losing streak. And on the other side, their powerhouse rival, the number 9 Nebraska Cornhuskers, a team leading their conference and looking like a legitimate contender.
Now, on paper, this thing looks like a total mismatch. But you know how it is. This is a border rivalry. And in these games, you can pretty much throw the records, the rankings, all of it right out the window. The energy is just different. And believe me, this game was absolutely no exception.
So, how did this whole thing actually play out on the court? Well, let me tell you, it was anything but pretty. It was not a clean, high-scoring game. This was a slugfest right from the opening tip. Both teams just could not get anything going. I mean, just look at these numbers from the first half. Combined, 15 turnovers. They shot a brutal 27% from three-point range. It was sloppy, it was super defensive, and every single point felt like a battle.
And as if all that rivalry intensity wasn't enough, you had this whole personal drama layered on top that really just poured fuel on the fire, especially for the fans in that building.
Yeah, that player was Pryce Sandfort. I mean, can you imagine that you're returning to your old home court for the first time and you're met with a wall of boos every single time you touch the basketball? But even with that incredibly hostile environment, he still managed to lead his team with 13 points. You know, in a messy, ugly, low-scoring game like this one, it almost always comes down to one player who just decides, okay, that's enough, and gets hot at exactly the right moment to carry their team. For Iowa, that player was Bennett Stirtz. He looked around, saw the offense struggling, and basically decided he was going to will his team to a win no matter what it took. And he was absolutely on fire. He poured in a game-high 25 points. And you got to put that in perspective. In a defensive brawl where the final score is in the 50s, one guy scoring 25, that is a truly dominant, game-changing performance.
But it wasn't just how much he scored. It was when he scored that made all the difference. He literally put the entire offense on his back down the stretch, scoring 10 of his team's final 14 points. He just took over the game when it counted the most.
And this just shows you how clutch he was. Game is on the line, what does he do? Bam! Hits a jumper to take the lead. Then, less than a minute later, he drains this massive step-back 3 to give Iowa a little breathing room. He single-handedly seized control of the game. But right after that incredible, heroic sequence, something completely unbelievable happened. Iowa's offense, it just stopped. I mean, completely stopped. And I am not exaggerating here. For the final 4 minutes and 59 seconds of the game, the Iowa Hawkeyes did not make a single basket from the floor. Not one. Which of course brings us right back to that question from the beginning. How is this even possible? You can't just stop scoring for 5 full minutes against a top 10 team and expect to win. But somehow they did. And the answer, it's not on the score sheet. The answer was right here, on the glass. Iowa absolutely dominated the rebounding battle. They grabbed 13 more boards than Nebraska. They just flat out refused to give Nebraska any extra chances to score. So this is the formula for how you win an ugly game. You do it with pure grit. The key was making sure Nebraska only got one shot each time they came down the court. By controlling the boards, they completely snuffed out any hope of second chance points. The mentality was simple. If we can't score, then you're not going to score either. And that is exactly how they held on. And so when that final, frantic buzzer finally sounded, all of that unconventional, gritty, defensive effort paid off in the biggest way you could possibly imagine. And there it is, the unranked underdog. The team that went completely cold for the final 5 minutes of the game had officially knocked off the number 9 team in the nation. Just an absolutely incredible finish. You know, this wasn't a pretty win. It wasn't some display of offensive fireworks. This was a victory that was born from pure toughness, from hustle, and from a deep-down refusal to lose. And you could just feel all that tension and excitement explode at once. The home crowd erupted, just pouring onto the floor to celebrate this massive, season-defining victory right there with their team. What an amazing scene. So I think what you should really take away from this is that sometimes the most memorable victories are the ones you have to grind out the hardest. This win wasn't about the box score. It was about heart. And it really leaves us with one big question. Was this chaotic, improbable victory the spark that turns the entire season around for the Iowa Hawkeyes?